Hey everyone, I'm here with Chloe. She's a member and student of the Pro Wholesaler VIP program. Just an amazing member who wholesaled her first deal. Love talking with her, love talking real estate with her. Just someone who gets it, someone who didn't take no for an answer and wholesaled her first house, virtually wholesaled her first house in not her own state, few states over. And here today to talk with her how she made that happen. How you doing, Chloe?
Absolutely. I'm good. How are you, Alex?
Doing good, doing good.
Awesome. Awesome.
So let's talk about this first deal because you wholesaled it, you made it happen. You're in Reno, Nevada,
Yeah.
and you did it in another city called Indianapolis, which is pretty
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
And also, you're completely green. Were you completely green to real estate when you came in here, or knew a
Yes.
little bit?
Yes. Other than like seeing houses for sale on the street sometimes, didn't
Okay,
really know much about about real
nice.
estate before this.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. And so, how'd this first deal happen? Because I know you enrolled in the program.
Yes.
You worked at it. You just closed this deal, I think, like a week ago.
Yeah.
And just how'd you find it? How'd you go about it? Love to hear about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I found this deal um by looking on PropStream and like Zillow and Redfin. And, I was looking at initially when I was like looking in, this market, I was looking at, the new listings and the listings that were just popping up. And, I kind of felt like, okay, let me try a different approach and look at houses that have maybe been on the market for a while and that are just, maybe a little bit overpriced for an investor, but they're under the value that a retail buyer would need to see. And this house like really fit the bill for that. It had been on the market for like I think over 6 months at the time that I connected to
Hmm.
them. Um, so it's like it's hard to argue with someone about the value of the house, when it's just been sitting there for so long. And I spoke to the realtor who I kind of, I made a case like before I even hopped on this call. I made a case for what my number was going to need to be. And I looked at the comps in the area. I looked at, what other um, fix and flips in that area had sold for initially that were similar size, similar bed bath count. And then, I just got really confident before the call, gave her a call, and just kind of brought her to the dark side, just convinced her that my numbers were the numbers. And she was like, okay, she's like, you're right. And it just so happened that she was the sister of the owner. So, this was like her family that she's kind of dealing with. And she's like, well, I'll go talk to him and see what he
Hmm.
says. And so she definitely did a lot of negotiating with her family and, finally got them to accept my offer. And then, even though this offer was actually 35K less than list, during the
Nice.
contingency period, I had to actually negotiate again another 15K lower than that. So it was definitely a journey. It was definitely a process. And there was a moment halfway through where I thought, just throw the whole deal away because, I don't know if they're going to go for 15K lower. But
Hmm.
I kind of, I kind of felt like I had to honor myself by at least asking because I had put so much work in already at that point. And so I said, you know what, I'm just going to ask her, like, we're realizing that the repairs are going to be a little bit more than what we thought. Can we negotiate this price down? And at first he's like, nope, not going to do it. No way. So I asked her, I said, look, is he willing to get in a call with me? Like, I just would not take no because I wanted to honor myself as long as they were willing to entertain, a conversation with me. I was going to continue to honor the work I'd put in and continue to remain confident, that these are the numbers and this is a good opportunity for them. Their house has been sitting for
Hmm.
6 months. What if it sits for another 6 months? Just remembering like I'm bringing value to the table for all parties and for these people included, for the sellers included. And so, she gets him on the phone with me like I'm his least favorite person at this point. And he ended up agreeing. You know, he negotiated it down with me, and we got down 15K lower, which is what allowed me to actually dispo this deal. You know, and it was a really powerful lesson for me, because as someone who, I'm naturally like a really agreeable person, and I always want people to feel good around me and to be happy around me. So it was hard bringing conflict to the table and saying, hey, like, I actually don't agree with you here. I think that I have more value to offer you, you know, in this way. And what I realized is that, you know, very hands-on, I realized this in this situation, that if you're going to offer value to someone, you're going to have to commit yourself to making peace with conflict, because, you know, by definition, if you're offering value, there's a reason that value wasn't there before you got there. And so you're going to have to, you know, acknowledge that, you know, I might not appease this person's ego in the short term, but their deeper needs are going to be met in the longer term. And so sometimes, you know, conflict is actually a really powerful vehicle for achieving goals on all sides.
Totally. And great job on that. I think there's an awesome amount to unpack there. I mean, this is your first deal, by the way. You had to negotiate $15,000 down. You worked with the listing agent. You stood in your, you know, your path, your truth of, hey, you know, the reality is it's been on the market for 6 months. You know, he probably didn't have any other offers on the table, and it's just sitting there, right?
Yeah.
His heads were in the clouds. And, you know, one thing we like to say on our Q&A calls is, you know, in those situations, you can be like a knight or nitrous in shining armor and save the day for this person. And that's
nitrous. Love
nitrous. That. There you go. And that's what you're able to do, because that property very well could have stood for another 6 months, and maybe he could have got foreclosed on. Who knows what the situation was exactly. And then you had to get a reduction, and then you're able to wholesale it. So you definitely went around the gambit on your first deal.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was definitely a journey. You know, one that I will not soon forget.
Yeah. And what you said there is really interesting too, because I think with business partners, with people in real estate, you accepted this commitment to conflict of working with someone, and not everyone's going to see eye to eye originally with you. Right. I've seen with business partners, agents, sellers, but you stood your ground. You know, you knew your value, you knew your worth. And at the end of the day, you know, they buckled, they came to you, right? Totally. You stood your ground. You didn't need to come up. So that's pretty awesome. I think that's when we're starting out, it's hard to know your value. It's hard to know your worth. It's hard to think about the value you're bringing to your cash buyers. That you honestly have a property under contract for them, and all they need to do is sign the dotted line for them to be able to purchase this property and fix and flip it. I mean, that's immense value for a fix and flipper.
Yeah.
And so you're bringing a lot of value there. And so how did you find that buyer for the deal? I'm asking.
So that's a good question. So for this one, I actually, so I had my buyers list that I had created beforehand. And I kind of had like people that I had already spoken to, and I understood their criteria and stuff like that. But then I thought to myself, okay, well, none of these people are biting. So I said, let me like just post this thing on Craigslist. And so that's what I did. And I ended up actually connecting with quite a few buyers in general from that post, people that I was able to learn their criteria and stuff like that for future deals. But I also connected with the person who ended up being the buyer for this deal. And it was really cool. It was cool because it was like a warm buyer coming your way, because they see something that they already want. And so I noticed all the buyers that came to me from that post, they were all really willing to open up, because they're like, oh yeah, this person is bringing value. Like I can see that. It's not like I'm just some random person calling, even though I can build rapport with those folks as well. But I did notice that the dynamic was definitely a little bit different once I had posted that I had a deal under contract. So that kind of changed the dynamic. And I definitely think I'll be doing a lot more deals with those buyers for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then how much were you able to make on this deal?
I mean, 3K.
There we go.
Yep.
Hey.
3,000 hamburgers I can buy now. From McDonald's. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be specific. You can't go to like Arby's and get their hamburgers. You got to go to McDonald's. But yeah, I can definitely get 3,000.
In and out. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah. In and out. Absolutely.
Well, that's awesome to hear. Was Pro Wholesaler being part of the program a help on this first deal?
I mean, it was literally everything. Like it was so much. I mean, and obviously, no matter how amazing that your program is, which it is really amazing. And it literally gave me, a systematic approach that I was able to use and that I was able to rely on intellectually where I wasn't able to rely on experience, right? Which is super powerful. But no matter how amazing your program was, I still had to kind of dig deep within myself because, even if you get the best program in the world, you still have free will. You still have the choice to, choose to clean your toilet obsessively or, binge watch Bridgerton on Netflix, which I've done multiple times at this point. You have that choice, right? And so you still have to dig deep and you still have to remind yourself every day, what are the most important goals to me today? I kind of look at it as like a reverse engineering in a way of your life. And it's like thinking about your life from the end, which we're going to get really dark here, but I'm just going to tell you, thinking about it from the perspective of what am I going to care about the most at the end of this? Like when it's all said and done, what were the goals that I'm going to wish I had worked on and making that a priority today, not letting certain fears arrest you to the point that you are unwilling or unable to live in your truth and to live up to your potential. Because ultimately that's really what it comes down to in life, right? You've got to make those choices. So every day I sought to make those choices, and it absolutely helped having, the coaching and the mentorship, because you guys have so much experience and you're able to reflect that back like, hey, you can do this. And so that absolutely helped as well. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of digging deep.
Yeah. And I'm so happy you said that, because that's the truth. You can give everyone the tools, the resources, but just because you have that doesn't mean a person's going to do anything with it. They have to believe they can make it happen. And that's the whole other side to this game, to learning any skill set, to being successful in anything. And, you definitely embodied that. And, on our Q&A calls and in our community as well, a Pro Wholesaler community, that post you did the other day, just saying, hey, we can be our own worst enemy. We can be a victim, or we can be creators. Right.
Cool.
And you're definitely a creator. And that's the other side of real estate, of wholesaling, where if we don't believe we can make it happen, we're starting significantly disadvantaged than everyone else. But if we believe we can make it happen, we become aligned with our actions that we're taking. Just like you believed, hey, this purchase price that I'm sending in this house, it works. I'm going to make this deal happen. Then you made it happen. And so I just want to mention that, because it's just the whole other side to it, right? It's the whole other side to it that so many people skip over. And you can't come in here thinking that it's not going to be a reality. It's not going to work out for you. You have to have that faith in yourself and the faith in the process. And that's something that you have. So, I commend you for that.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah. I mean, one thing I want to say definitely to add to that is just like, I truly feel like that underlying energy, whatever you're approaching your work with, is everything. If you feel defeated before you start working on this and you're trying to get a deal to shore yourself up, it's not going to work, because you're already looking at the course with a lens of being defeated. And so all you're going to be able to see are more reasons that you're defeated, because that's how a system of thought works. It exists to perpetuate itself. So you've got to do the real work beforehand, right? Which is getting yourself into alignment with believing in something good about this process, believing that you can do it, believing that this works because you've seen other people do it, shoring yourself up, listen to other people's stories who had a hard time and then they made it. Shore yourself up, remind yourself, hey, it hasn't happened yet, but it's possible. I can do this. I can look for solutions, right? And then when you do that, you'll look at the course through totally different eyes. You'll actually be able to see the opportunities that exist. You're not going to look at everything and think, oh, see, I knew this wasn't going to work. You'll look at it and you'll say, okay, I could see how this could work. And then that curiosity will lead you to a new breadcrumb, to a new breadcrumb, to a new breadcrumb. And then it just keeps unfolding. And then next thing you know, you're on a fun pro wholesaling journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've definitely done that. So super proud of you, super proud of your work. And, I'm just happy we're able to touch on that side of things as well, because that's something that's not touched upon. And, so Chloe, what's the future looking like for you right now? What are you working on? And, where are you looking to go with this?
5 million McDonald's cheeseburgers.
5 million. All right, there we go.
But I mean, in all seriousness, if that was the currency, that would be the goal. If our currency was cheeseburgers. But yeah, definitely. I really think that just getting more consistent at, like, in the short term, that's really what it looks like. It just looks like creating systems that are going to allow me to actually scale, allow me to look at the business from a higher level perspective versus being zoomed in this way. So just finding ways to climb that ladder, so that I'm able to continue, growing in my skill set and, growing in my leadership capacities and ultimately mentoring other people that I would bring into the business with me. So I think that's kind of my next goal.
I love it. And that's a natural progression.
Absolutely.
And, did you get this feeling after completing this first deal that, if you can do one, you can do another? If you can do one a month, you can do 2 a month?
100%. Yeah. And, I think once you actually complete that step, it becomes a part of your toolkit. It's like before I completed that step, the only toolkit I had was like, I believe I can offer a solution. I believe I can find a good comp. I believe, I broke it down into doable steps until I accomplished a step that wasn't previously doable. Right. And then now that I've accomplished that, I can say, okay, I know what it takes to create a wholesale deal. Now I can create another one. It was a complete paradigm shift. I even walk around a little differently. My neighbor told me I have a little pep in my step now. So it's
that's
nice.
Real. Yeah, that's real. That's awesome. I remember when I completed my first deal and we talked offline about this, but that changed my life. It showed me what's possible. A lot of those little voices or negative beliefs that come in there, and you shut them up and you just keep working towards your goals and you make it happen. And, you see a lot of the times you can wholesale these houses without putting any money into them. A lot of the times, turn $0 into something. It's a pretty cool experience.
Oh yeah. Powerful.
And if you don't mind me sharing, I know we're talking offline, but you said you had another buyer who would have even paid a little bit more. And so there's room to improve. Right. And I think that's really exciting. You can let that pull you, saying, hey, you could have made 2-3 times as much on this deal if we improved in this segment of the company.
Absolutely. And it was the marketing. I didn't start marketing it early enough, but had I would have been able to, it would have been triple the wholesale assignment fee.
There you go. Yeah. So, there's room for improvement, which is awesome. And, we're talking about continuous improvement, always improving. So
absolutely. Yeah. 100%. And I definitely think, it's hard to stay in one spot for too long, especially if you're someone who's just growing rapidly. It has to be about just continuing to expand. And then, once you get up one step on the ladder, there's going to be someone who's below you a step. And then you can say, oh, hey, this is what I did. Right. Then they can step up, and then you can step up, and then they can, and it's just a really beautiful, synergy that happens. And you can teach, but you can also learn, teach, but also learn. So that's kind of my goal, to create that for myself.
Well, that's how we scale it. So looking forward to helping you do that, Chloe.
Absolutely.
You have a lot of golden nuggets. On our Q&A calls, we talk about golden nuggets. Any golden nuggets for anyone who is maybe thinking about doing this? Maybe they have some doubts. What would you say to someone who's on the fence about this?
Yeah. So I would say that, well, I would say there's probably two kinds of people that are probably watching this. People that are like on the fence, like, should I actually jump in and try this? And people that are already trying it and having a hard time. So I want to address both of those people. So for the first type of person, if you're looking to jump in and you're looking to try it, what I'm going to challenge you to do, and I mean you, whoever's watching this, is to really just understand the real risk that you're taking. The risk that you're taking is not trying something and failing. The risk that you're taking is not losing money, because you can't really actually fail at this if you have another shot. That means that the journey's not over. Failing implies that the journey's over. And if you can't get it done, you can't get it wrong. Failure really is just a moment in time that you've decided that you failed because you're not choosing to take it as a learning opportunity. So the real risk is not failing. The real risk isn't losing money. You can always make money. The real risk is not taking a chance on getting to express your potential, getting to express yourself, getting to express a goal that could catapult you farther along your path. That's the real risk. And don't take it from me. Look at every single deathbed regret. It's someone who did not take a risk and do something that they wanted to do. And at the very least, you're going to learn something. You're going to grow as a person. And that's not even the least. Like, that's a great thing to have happen. Mm-hmm. But at the most, you're giving yourself a path of entrepreneurship that's scalable, that allows you to dictate your own time, that gives you a sense of autonomy, that will allow you to connect to an incredible community of co-creators and people that are like-minded. So it's like the worst thing that could happen is that you grow. The best thing that could happen is that you grow a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So then for the people that have already been trying, and for the people that already have a storyline about how hard it is and how there's no inventory in the market and the buyers and, oh my gosh. For those people, and I'm not even talking just to other people, because I had those experiences, those voices were in my head too. But what determines whether or not you're going to create what you want is your ability to put those voices in perspective. Those voices actually love you. They're trying to protect you. They literally love you so much. They don't want you to feel any pain. But those voices have an incomplete picture of your reality, and they're talking to you from an incomplete picture. They don't know what you know. They don't know because they haven't lived it yet. They're talking to you based on the past. And the mind is so good at that. All it has is memories. And so that's what it uses to determine where you're going to go. So that's why most people kind of create lives that are just more of the same. You grow up in this hometown, you stay in this hometown, you have the same friend, same job. And it's just because those voices come in and they think, oh yeah, well, out there isn't safe because it's unknown. But the truth is, you don't know it yet. So how do you know if it's not the best thing that could have ever happened to you? You don't know. So you have to trust yourself. You have to trust your ability to evolve, your ability to grow. That's the ultimate thing that I'm going to challenge you to do, is just trust that, look, I don't actually know what's going to happen, but I do know that I can evolve as obstacles are thrown my way. I can get stronger. I trust that I can do that. I've done that since I was born. I used to not be able to walk, believe it or not, when I was 1 year old.
Wow.
I do that all the time now. Right? That's like a normal thing to me now. Imagine how challenging it was when I was 1 and my head was bigger than my whole body. That was hard. I didn't have, like, my center of gravity was just totally different.
Totally. That was amazing, Chloe. That you hit it right in the head. I mean, I couldn't have said it better than myself. You know, that's you know, I think all that's left for someone who wants to do this is they have to make a decision, a choice, you know, what they want to do, who they want to be, and then go out and do it. 100%. And, you know, whether you think you can or can't, you're right. Right. So, you know,
100%.
whatever you want to do, if you want to make it happen, if you want to become a wholesaler, a pro wholesaler, if you want to, you know, start your journey in real estate, then you absolutely can. You know, if you don't, then that's fine. You know, whatever you choose, just know that if you wanted to be in a program where we support you, where, you know, you can make it happen, where we are creators, then this is something that I'd highly recommend. And so, Chloe, just thank you for being here. I mean, not much else to say on this deal. I mean, you made this deal happen. You know, you made it seem easy. I know it wasn't easy, you know?
Yeah, there were challenges, 100%. And I want to be transparent about that, because it's always easier to like talk about the successes.
Mm-hmm.
But the group wasn't there when I was like sitting in my living room, like, oh, what's going to happen? Right? Like they didn't see any of that. And so it can be really tempting not to normalize their own struggles or their own discomfort around growing. But I'm here to tell you, like, if you're growing, it's uncomfortable, period.
Totally.
That's normal. That's par for the course. But the key here is understanding that if the growing that you're doing is in alignment with you, then the type of stress that it is more of a challenge. And you have to kind of approach it like that. You've got to normalize that challenge. And you have to see it as like, I can do this. I just have to figure out the keys to the locks. Mm-hmm. And like you said, Alex, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. That's Henry Ford, right?
Yep, exactly.
So to add to that, you know, you can't see something that you're not on the same frequency as. Like if I'm on 97.1 FM, I can't hear what's on 94.9. So if you want to win, you have to start believing that you can win. You have to start looking for evidence that you can win, not looking for evidence that this isn't going to work. Because it's what you look for that's going to shore up whatever belief you choose.
Absolutely. You got to look for evidence you can win. I love that. I'm writing it down.
Heck yeah. We got to make t-shirts for that one.
T-shirts.
Yeah.
Maybe a podcast.
The t-shirt, I know, the podcast, but the t-shirt could actually say evidence that you can win because you're the evidence. Get it?
There we go. Yeah. I love it.
Oh, we got to copyright this after this call so that no one on YouTube does it.
Can't share this. Yeah. I can't share this.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, Chloe. I mean, you're just a stellar member in the program and you're well on your way. You know, you radiate with energy and positivity with everyone in here, and every time, whether you post it in our community or you're on the Q&A call, I mean, everyone feels it, and you just bring that great energy here. And I appreciate you sharing everything that you've shared today, because I'm a believer in everything that you said. And when I started my journey in real estate, I had to go through all the same things that you're going. And so I completely connect with everything that you're saying. And once again, just appreciate you being here, because everything you're saying is very helpful. You know, it's hard for me sometimes to get back to day one of starting out as a wholesaler.
Yeah.
But everything that you said, everything you've said, from the mindset, from, you know, looking for that evidence that you can win. That's what we need to do. You know, have that beginner's mindset, like we're talking about.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Not approaching any day as though it's already done, right? That's that beginner's mindset, like approaching it as a totally blank slate. Because the second we start projecting onto the day's over. You've already lived it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to project your goal of 5 million hamburgers in the future. You made 3,000 hamburgers on this deal, $3,000. And I'm just excited for your growth. No doubt that you're going to get there. And I'm excited to help you. And our whole entire real estate skills team is excited to help you in any way that we can.
That's so awesome. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you. I look forward to continue growing with you, helping you out, everything that you need, and appreciate you hop on this call today.
Absolutely, Alex. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chloe.
Yep.